Hi, I'm Anna Altman of Anna's Awesome Applique Designs, and today I'm going to talk to you about my newest design, Anna's stained glass windows. And I wanted to share with you, I've always been inspired by Frank Lloyd Wright, so I decided to create 3 different stained glass window panels, and each panel has 3 windows in it, top, middle, and bottom. And the ones on the front cover here are 8 inches wide, and there's also a 9.5 inch wide version. Also, because I love these thumb drives, I've put everything on a thumb drive, and I created a cute little charm about this little design. I'm going to talk to you more about all the details of what you get with this design here in a minute. So the first thing I want to cover is, if you can tell, first of all, on the left here is the 8 inch version, and it's kind of had the sparkly color over the white fabric. And the purple here is the 9.5 inch wide version, and it doesn't have any sparkly. I wanted to have sparkly in my windows because I felt like with the sparkly it had made it more translucent and it provided more of a window effect. I just got this from my local fabric shop. I do list it in the general instructions, but you can see just adding that little layer of this translucent mesh over the white fabric brings out the sparkly and makes it look beautiful. Now I want to talk about hoop preparation. In your instructions on the stained glass window, you'll notice that I've indicated to use embroidery batting and hoop the embroidery batting. I've also indicated to use a larger piece of background fabric and hoop the background fabric with the embroidery batting. And that's because the stitch count is higher than my normal designs, and I wanted to make sure everything was snug and it would accommodate any of the push-pull compensation. As I worked on a newer design after I completed the stained glass windows, I've come up with another method of addressing that seems to work really well. And I'm going to show you that here in this tip. So instead of using embroidery batting for the whole hoop, what I did is I used 2 layers of a no-show mesh, because that will help with the large stitch count. I went ahead, and step 1 is my basting stitch on all the designs. I would then take my embroidery batting, and now this is cut to 1 inch larger all the way around than the finished cut size. In this case it's 9 by 9 because this block is 8 by 8, trims at 8 by 8. I just lay that 9 by 9 over that basting stitch, and then I place my background fabric on top of it. Once I put my background fabric on top of it, make sure everything's centered and flat, I go back to the embroidery machine, go back to step number 1 because that's the basting stitch, and go ahead and baste all those 2 layers down. At this point, if I wanted to add my little mesh to get that sparkly, I would have gone ahead and put this on top of the white fabric and tacked that down as well with the basting stitch. So I wanted to mention that this is a new approach. You can do this with your current stained glass window designs. You just need to use that basting stitch in step 1 in the sequence. I always like to include a couple of projects within my designs, and the first one that's always a good one to have is a table runner. So you can see here that I'm showing here is I actually took 2 of the 8 inch blocks, created 2 of them, and put them in either direction for a table runner, and I've created this quilting design as a frame around the table runner. I then took the same block and made a placemat and did the quilting around that, and then I made a placemat using the 8 by 12 inch block and create just the borders on either side. So the instructions are available on the thumb drive to create these table runner and placemat, and again you can select any one of the blocks that you like to make that. Okay. Another tip or something different that I did with the joining strips that I want to mention to you for the stained glass windows is, first of all, you see that the joining strips are black on both the front and back. And so I got to thinking how to do this a little bit different and make it easier, because I know I'm going to use black thread to go ahead and tack that down once I'm done. Well, I decided to go ahead and do the 1 1/4 inch wide strip on the back instead of 1 3/8. I'm keeping the 1 inch on the front like I have, and you can see that in my video on the website and the instructions that are on the thumb drive. But the other thing I did differently, once I had all those pieces together, I actually used my stitch and ditch foot, but then I'm going to come in a smidgen, and it's just a moving your needle position, but what I'm doing is a top stitch on top of that joining strip, and I just move my needle in a little bit, follow that seam with the stitch and ditch foot, and then move my foot back over here. And on my sewing machine, I have another icon that moves the needle just a smidgen in, and I just do 2 top stitches on top of that joining strip, and that just makes it look a lot nicer, and it's quicker and easier to do. Last but not least, as far as what comes with the pattern, I always include lots of neat little things, and mug rugs are really fun to do. So I've included 4 different designs for mug rugs. They're quick and easy. They're all done in the hoop. And in this case, I didn't use that sparkly on there because I figure mug rugs will get wet and they may need to be washed and dried. And there are some things to think about when you put the sparkly on there. It has some laundry type information on there when you do that searching. But then, for the first time ever, I decided to do a little zipper bag. And I've been scared of doing these because they look a little complicated, but I spent a whole Saturday to figuring it out. And so I created 4 different zipper bags again, but then I also created a cute little quilting design on the back. I actually like to use the invisible zipper, and it goes away when you zip it up. And then I was talking to a couple of friends and said, you know, if you added little tabs, you can create your own over-the-shoulder bags. So sure enough, I added tabs, and I got a little handle, and there you go, an over-the-shoulder bag. Isn't that just adorable? The last tip that I want to mention is about the binding. I actually created a 3-inch binding. Actually, I think this one might be 3.5. And the reason why I do that is I sew a 1/2-inch seam. I fold that binding in half, and then I sew a 1/2-inch seam. So when I fold that binding over and I bring it around, you can see it's going to simulate the same thickness as the joining strip, and it's going to complement the design a lot better. So take your time and really make sure that you're doing a wider binding and that you're doing that good 1/2-inch seam so that when you fold it over, it will look pretty and complement the full design. And just to wrap up this video on my lovely stained glass windows, I wanted to mention the designs behind me. As you can see, you can create your own window panel any way you want with any fabric colors you want. You can go ahead and put 2 or 3 panels together. You can see that behind me. Change the colors around. The other thing that we have talked about as a group is not put any fabric colors at all. Just go ahead and create the lighting part of it. Color it in, or take it to an event like a wedding reception or a birthday party. Have fabric pens and color them in and have people sign their names. So there are lots of ideas that you can just take off with on this design. I'm hoping that you've enjoyed this video, and enjoyed my design as much as I did making it. Thank you.